Full disclosure here. I'm worried about my microphone echoing, and I have First Kings 15 written down, but my first tab is Second Kings 25. So that's a little confusing, but this is going to be a great show. I got a lot of things to go over. Let's do this thing. 5x5. Oh, yeah. Here's the disclaimer somewhere. There it is. Did you see that thumbnail? It was supposed to be showing Atlantis. I wonder what this is. Oh, I've got this pulled up later, but I'll show you now. I wanted to flip it over because you know how the TV shows somehow you can read through it if you flip it. Everyone is creative. You see any other words here? What is that? Falsified? Self? I don't know. That's what it looked like. Philosophical. This is, I think, from a computer video. Tartaria uncovered 1,600, 1,066. 1,660. Research your topic, research your problem. This guy solved it all. Here's one 37 subscribers, all mud flood all the time. How would you feel? Actually, this is how all modern build. They just build up that wrought iron steel and then drape the heavy siding on it. Like this could be window glass, copper. Like this is supposed to be copper. But this is the first modern building. I hope I can project that. Hope I'm sharing. It looks like it. Look at this one here. I guess we're poor now, but the rich are richer. So we know, everybody knows that. Sundog. Look at that. Little inverted cloud there. So you can tell this is that fisheye lens thing. They poisoned ethyl alcohol. It did not used to kill you if you drank it, but during Prohibition, people were making their own, and the mob got mad. That is the government and the mafia. We'll be looking at a lot of iron bridges in this mini marathon. It's a mud flood. The computers are convinced of it, that all they had from the old world were these crazy foundations. You'll be seeing it. Growing Belushi. So I was looking at this thing in Belushi, and this was like a split second. I couldn't see anything in it. I was going to show you. There's that mining shed. Well, let's find the dealio here. Jehoiakim. Okay, I was just studying this. How about Jehoiakim changed out of his prison clothes and dined regularly at the king of Babylon's table for the rest of his life. The king provided Jehoiakim a daily portion for the rest of his life and for his children. He wanted to make everybody happy, but not so much with Zedekiah. That didn't go so well with him. But the bronze and all the articles that they took, it would seem not that hard to imagine them gathering all the bronze bells as like, hey, we won the war. We're going to melt them down and take them. They're ours now. would seem that that's what they did. Now, look, here's that First Kings 15. I just wanted to remind you of Asa. I'm trying to figure out, some Christians not blotted out of the book of life, good to go, well done. They're 30, 60, 90-fold Christians. They're doing the best they can. They're like, hey, Isaiah, you're not the only one. There's 2,000 prophets left and 7,000 that haven't been in the knee. I could be getting that confused, but I really wanted to read about Asa did what was right in the eyes of the Lord when he became king, as his father David had done. He banished the male shrine prostitutes from the land. That's good. But there were male shrine prostitutes. And removed all the idols that his fathers had made. He also removed his grandmother Maacah from her position as queen mother because she had made a detestable Ashereth pole. Asa chopped down the pole and burned it in the Kidron Valley. The high places were not removed, but Asa's heart, fully devoted to the Lord all his days, he brought into the house of the Lord the silver and gold and the articles that he and his father had dedicated. Now he did war against this Baasha, king of Israel, throughout his days. Asa withdrew all the silver and gold that remained in the treasuries of the house of the Lord of the royal palace. He entrusted it to his servants. I hope I didn't mess you up because this is an important part. This really happened. Asa was going like, man, what's going on here? He entrusted it to his servants. That takes some trust. Sent them with this message to Ben-Hadad, son of Tabarimon, the son of Hizion, the king of Aram, who was ruling in Damascus. Let there be a treaty between me and you as there was between my father and your father. I like this. See, I have sent you a gift of silver and gold. Now go and break your treaty with Baasha, king of Israel, so that he will withdraw from me. Ben Hadad listened to King Asa, sent the commanders of his armies against, these are the bad guys, sent them anywhere. He conquered whatever we got going there, Ehon, Dan, Abel Beth Makkah, and the whole land of the Naphtali, including the region of Chinnereth. Baasha learned of this. He stopped fortifying Ramah and withdrew to Tisra. King Amon summoned all the men of Judah with no exceptions. And they look into this. This is what happened to your star forts. We see different stones taken different ways, some many miles, some 10. Then King Asa summoned the men of Judah with no exception, and they carried away the stone of Ramah. This was like a 3-quarter built star fort that got sieged, warfared, and the timbers Baasha had used for building. And with these materials, King Asa built up Geba of Benjamin. He took it and built another city. We know there's hundreds of these star fort cities. There's over 600 star fort cities that are buildings where they don't have toilets because they didn't need them. That whole two creations thing. That's not what this show's about, unless you want it to be. Then you can look for the way it's trying to get you. The acts of Josiah, all his might, are they not written? In his old age, however, he became diseased in his feet. He rested with them, you know. He built the cities he built. We don't have these books. We have the Book of Remembrance. We have myself and a few others doing the best that we can to get it out there. But now, look at that thumbnail. Where is that other thumbnail that showed that it's like Atlantis? Or did I not make that into a thumbnail? Yeah, it is. There are some more pictures. See? Look, this is where I live, right here in this protected valley. This is supposed to be a lake that the Colorado River flowed from down to the Gulf of California. What is this, the Tropic of Cancer or Capricorn? I get those two confused. But this is where we'll be safe, in these mountains. And allegedly, I'm like the prophet Paco for all of this. Then like RJ's like, he's not a Paco. He's in charge of that area. We got this as the other side of their map because it's like a globe. Some of these globes, come on, man. What is all this stuff? Anybody see anything cool? There's that AE. What is this thing here? Caspian Sea. So we're in the Russia, Siberia, Ural Mountains. So is there? I don't see any Tartarian stuff. I got a problem with all of these maps that show that there's like a Jerusalem in Africa. I just don't believe it. Where would that be? Here's the Mediterranean. Anyway, I think I saw it. Atlantis, huh? Raccoon broke into a liquor store and got drunk, Luther. Naughty raccoons. But he was, Enter the Stars is back talking about the eyeball. And I just liked this picture a lot. And he's talking about the eyeballs. He has been onto the Earth as an eyeball type of a situation for a while. Not all the way clearly, but I think so. Now look at this. This was the roadway, and then this was the roadway, and now this up here is the modern roadway. We've always been using the same things. Here's that picture that's reversed. It's not any better than that one. Everyone is creative. Something wants to be seen and not heard. No, that can't be it. Needs to be stuffed with pancakes, not falsified. Come on. I'm suffering. That looks pretty suffer it. Science research. This is a computer. Hey, you computer. We saw those. Good, man. Rocky, stay safe. We're going to need it. So we got that.
Called field work with hand tools.
I don't think that's loud.
The beveled profile at the base troubled me most. I had seen that exact profile before in an 1840 atlas plate labeled Bridgeworks, Tartary region, showing masonry piers along rivers that no longer appeared on modern maps. The match was not approximate. It was identical. If this was truly 1889 work, why did it look like structures drawn decades earlier from a region official histories now treat as a cartographic afterthought? The riverbank soil was soft alluvium, the kind that shifts and settles over decades. Yet the pier showed no tilt, no cracking, no evidence of the movement that should have occurred in 130 years. The structure stood unmoved. By afternoon, I was seated in the municipal.
These computers always throw out a person to make you think it's a person talking. None of those, come on. It's fake. I got another video where they show another guy, not him.
Records room, page after page of neat ink, dated from 1887 to 1890, spread across the reading table. The official narrative was thorough. Bid documents, budget approvals, a council minute authorizing foundation works commencing May 2nd, 1887. What the records did not contain was any detailed foundation drawing. For a major river crossing, the kind that would have required cofferdams, dewatering pumps, and careful pile driving into soft riverbed soil, the archive held nothing but a single line in an engineering note. Substructure as standard. No specifications, no site reports, no documentation of the foundation work that should have been the most technically demanding.
Are those computers trying to get us into a Pokemon spell or something? I'm going to break off here, go back like I was for a second. And is everybody hearing well, nobody's saying I can't hear it. So that's good because when I'm playing it, I'm turning it off in my mic. So I got to try to remember that. 10 people, that's a lot for me. Check out these computers, you guys.
Phase of construction. I found invoices for the iron trusses, receipts for the stone cladding, payroll records for deck assembly, but the substructure, the part that actually touched the river, appeared in the paperwork only as an assumption, never as a construction process. An engineering journal from 1890 mentioned the Riverton Bridge in passing, calling it an example of effective reuse of existing abutments. The phrase sat quietly in a paragraph about cost savings, never elaborated, never explained. Reuse of what? Existing from when? Alternative researchers who study what they call Tartarian infrastructure often argue that many 19th century bridges did not build their foundations. They simply inherited them, adding new superstructures to substructures that predated official records. The wording in that 1890 journal fit their hypothesis uncomfortably well. Within the first week, I had traced 4 more bridges within 30 kilometers of the city, all credited to the same late 19th century industrial boom. Postcards and early photographs showed 3 smaller river crossings and 1 rail viaduct, each built by different contractors and each carrying different dates in the municipal records. The superstructures varied: iron trusses, steel arches, timber decking that had been replaced multiple times, but the piers beneath them shared characteristics that should not have been possible if they were truly built independently. A regional engineering survey from around 1900 noted similar substructure type at multiple sites, a passing observation buried in a technical appendix. The survey recorded that several bridges rested on found existing stone piers in serviceable condition, language that treated the foundations as natural features rather than constructed elements. The photographs told a more specific story. In images where drought or low water exposed more of the pier bases, I could see identical chamfers, the same 45-degree bevels I had measured at Riverton, the same stepped cutwaters, the same seamless transitions from visible stonework to riverbed, with no evidence of the timber grillage or driven piles that period engineering would have required. Different superstructure designers, different construction dates spanning decades.
For myself, it is always hard to believe that This is a worldwide thing when it was started out so small.
Why do bridges built decades apart by different firms stand on foundations no one admits designing? Foundations that match so closely what some researchers now file under Tartarian infrastructure. Late on a Thursday, dust thick in the archive's lower stacks, I unrolled a set of plans, stamped cancelled 1886.
There, see, I missed the mic. I was just going to say, this is total computer. He's faking like I unrolled a panel. This is how I do it in my mind when I'm doing those like really deep dives.
The drawings had been misfiled decades ago, tucked into a folder of unrelated survey documents. They showed a projected bridge replacement at the Riverton site, a proposal never built, superseded by the 1889 project. But the cancelled drawings contained something the official plans did not. The blueprints depicted only the superstructure as new. The foundations were labeled existing stone base, surveyed only, not designed, not specified, just documented as already present. And the section drawings showed something the official descriptions had always denied. The river pier was not solid. Cross-sections depicted the interior as a hollow shell with internal chambers. Concentric circles with radial partitions, like the inside of a nautilus shell rendered in masonry. A marginal note read, "Inner cavity, purpose unknown, access sealed." The official narrative had always called the piers solid masonry.
These are the ones, these foundations are still in the Erie Canal. They're in the Colorado River. I see them as I traveled the United States when I was in the boots on the ground mode. There's a lot of repetition, but some of these things are pretty good here. And it's not that long of a video, and it's Friday night. Come on, people now, smile on your brother.
From regions that early atlases had placed squarely within the boundaries of what European cartographers called Great Tartary. If the features I had documented at Riverton were local anomalies, they should not appear elsewhere. But if they represented something more systematic, I expected to find echoes in the territories where Tartaria had been more than a vague label. The photographs confirmed the pattern. 19th century images showed masonry bridges in cities along the old Silk Road routes, across rivers in the Caucasus, and spanning waterways in regions.
So you hear me go, ooh, look at that. That is building it into the existing. This isn't going to go anywhere. The ones that people can use are underneath water now, but they're going to do something. The rivers are going to drain. These reservoirs that they've hauled up are going to flood the cities. It's going to be where do you file that under? How does God judge again? Sword, famine, pestilence, miscellaneous.
Caucasus and spanning waterways in regions that had passed through Russian, Persian, and Ottoman control. The superstructures varied, but the substructures shared the signature I had learned to recognize. Identical beveled bases, the same ratio of pier width to deck span, recurring signs of sealed openings near the waterline, circular plates, bricked up arches, channels that led nowhere the visible structure required. A French engineering journal from 1862 included sketches of bridge piers in Tashkent. The annotations noted that these
I'm getting kind of hung up in this. I mean, it's interesting, right? But I have to move on a little bit faster.
Despite soft alluvial soil, despite increased traffic loads far beyond anything 19th century designers could have anticipated, despite seasonal flooding and ice damage, the pier foundations showed almost no movement. A 20th century soil study noted the geological conditions with evident puzzlement. The report documented soft, water-saturated alluvium, exactly the kind of substrate that requires deep foundations or extensive timber grillage to support heavy masonry.
Timber grittage. Did you know that's what it's called? I'm going to go here because I feel like time is. Look at that. Now we're talking.
And regions that had once been the western fringe of territories labeled Tartaria on older maps. The Central Asian examples came from digitized collections in St. Petersburg and Tashkent, bridges along the old Silk Road routes. The North American examples surprised me most. I had not expected to find the same signatures on a continent supposedly settled by Europeans only centuries ago. But 19th century photographs of stone bridges in the American Northeast showed the same beveled pier bases, the same sealed circular plates, the same absence of documented foundations. A railway engineer's journal from 1878 describing bridge construction in upstate New York contained a line that stopped me cold.
It stopped the computer cold. I'm not buying it.
We improved the superstructure, but the foundations appear beyond our present methods to reproduce. Common features united the global sample: monolithic pier blocks with no visible construction joints, beveled bases with identical geometric ratios, sealed
That definitely is the Shoshone crossing near the Erie Canal.
circular plates near the waterline, absence of recorded deep foundations, despite soft soil conditions centuries had demanded of it. Recent inspection reports rated the substructure as excellent, noting only superficial erosion. The engineers who wrote those reports did not ask why foundations with no documented design should perform so well in soil that should have defeated them. The questions I had spent a year asking did not appear in their professional vocabulary. I photographed the pier again, framing the
If this is a person, then I do apologize. We got something that I wanted you to see here.
Ed.
I'm Sam.
Okay.
I actually had someone nominate you from this store and said you're very hardworking.
Well, I try to be.
May I ask how old you are
I'm 88.
and still working?
Yes, I have to.
Why do you have to keep working?
Retired from General Motors in '99. In 2012, they went bankrupt and they took my pension away from me.
Oh my gosh. Do you have a wife?
She passed away 7 years ago.
7 years ago.
She was sick when I lost my pension.
So you've been struggling a bit?
A little bit.
You said that you lost your pension?
Yes, sir, I did. I was in the Army back in 66.
So you're a veteran too?
Yes. The thing that hurt me the most was my wife was real sick. And they, when they took the pension, they also took the health care coverage.
Yeah.
And all but $10,000 of my life insurance.
Oh my gosh.
So I sold the house, sold the property I had, and we made it through. My wife died 7 years ago. Since then, I've been trying to reestablish myself.
And you're working here how many days a week?
I work 5 days a week, 8 hours a day.
And you do that because you have to, or
Yeah, I don't have enough income
what's your dream?
to live somewhat the life I was hoping for.
Like to share your story and try and get people to help you retire.
Long story short, they raised $1 million for this guy. It's not going to be able to happen to that many, but I think some people try to be good. I do have some Bible I want to look at here. Him on a cross. Him on a cross. From the cross. It's the tree in the KJV. It looks like it could be tree. First is anything or anyone that hangs on a tree. In the book of Revelation, who is that to? Sardis? Costly wood and brass. That's some of the things that the whore of Babylon sold that they were so dismayed when it all went away in less than an hour. The leaves of the tree were for healing. They were producing the same tree, had different leaves that were used for healing. Well, you know this verse, right? 22, verse 2. Let's look at it in the Berean Standard. Down the middle of the main street of the city, on either side of the water, stood a tree of life bearing 12 kinds of fruit. A lot of grafting going in there, and yielding a fresh crop for each month. So, like the Lord Messiah for the people, he offered them the bread of life, the water of life. All they wanted was to live in this world and have him keep making bread out of nothing and wine out of water, heal them when they're sick. Who wouldn't, circumcise their heart seemed second place. What else we got here? This one is the rafter. The rafter. That sounds like wood. The rafter will cry out to the stone. Timber beams will cry out from the wall, the stone, for it will answer it. The tree of life, and from the framework. Is this a good root word? Only kind of, right? So many, its prefixes have prefixes. Its suffix look like they got suffixes. Basically, it's this would be your starting point. Okay, it's tree. You got to go with a tree on this. Something from a tree. We read that one more time. The very stones in the walls cry out against you, and the beams in the ceilings echo the complaint. That's the New Living Translation, the New American Standard, where the stones will cry out from the wall and the rafter will answer it from the framework. What are they doing? What are they arguing about? You got any ideas? Let me know. So I looked up one of the words because it was only used one time, but it all kept leading back to no matter what part of this word you take, it's going to lead back to Habakkuk 2:11. This word here, tribes, this is pretty much straight up tribes. Common ancestor. Tribes. I looked up a word close to it. I don't know how close. Pretty close. Grew, springing, puff. Holes. Foxes have holes. Let's go the other way. Planted plants, planted a vineyard. Okay. Something going on. Shrubs, vegetables, every plant. I'm not, those words aren't necessarily connected. But I kept looking. Did find out that the world's largest railway bridge, remember that one island, the Star Fort they built from in the middle of the ocean from nothing? It had 16 million. This bridge has 26 million bricks. You can still go use it today. There it is. Welcome. That's a Despite the project's complexity, no suitable alternative route could be found. A competition was held. Win some money. Again, a contest for, and probably an unknown person said, "Yay, I get the credit for designing this. We don't know who did this. He didn't even did this. Doesn't? Well, there's a reason 26 million bricks sounds like a lot. 23,000 trees sounds like a lot. That was needed for the Gulched Viaduct. Well, I don't know what that is. Hey, there's a picture of it, though. I guess I wanted to emphasize the picture. I want to just show you I like to show you my algorithm here. Look, we'll get another computer. Go, computer. Let's see. Where's my first short season computer one? Not seeing it. No computer one's jumping out at me. Except I already got enough of him pulled up. Man, what a world, right? What a world. Here is this somebody famous we need to look at. He's the guy that won all the contests, did all those things. They set him up as a general engineer, designer, university lecturer. Remember that name, Johann Schubert, son of a day laborer, brought up by foster parents, ended up going here. Well, look, so here's his school. That's Starfort, baby. And look at that. Look at the rocks on that. Somehow they pick these kids out of nowhere, don't they? Tell them how you like it now. This is a Starfort. Do you like it? You get to go to school here. The way these things you have it figured out. You've had it figured out for years now. It's the Bible. I want you to trust me. I want you to trust the scripture alone. I want you to trust your conscience, what's written on your heart. Who does this today? Nobody. But this young man went to school there, and he designed all of these things. So that's where he went to school. And at the Freemason Institute in Dresden. We all know about Dresden. They tried to make it ugly, but they could not. He's the guy that won the contest. Dresden Academy of Fine Arts, part of the major Starfort. They're still using it, I guess. April 8th, at the opening of the first German long-distance railway between Leipzig and Dresden, he actually drove that. Look at that. The very first one between one Starfort city and another. Probably took all day. He drove behind the official train, which was hauled by two English locomotives. Huh? And because he's so good, 6 years later, he said, I need 26 million bricks for this. Okay. You sure that's enough? Okay, we'll get it done. Opened in 1951. Who buys this anymore? Anybody? Got a job, figured it out. I'm going to go to school. Hey, I want to be a lecturer too. Look what I can do. It took him, less time to do this than it took Michelangelo to paint the Sistine Chapel. It took him as long to paint the Sistine Chapel as it did to make the Sistine Chapel. So he did it. He's a pioneer. He won. Here's another Bible verse I looked up. Thrust his sword. This was a weird Bible verse. I'm just throwing it out there. 2 Samuel chapter 2, verse 16. Each one grabbed his opponent by their hair and thrust his sword into the side so that all of them died. So this place at Gibeon has known ever since as the field of swords. Wow. Long, hard, complicated book. First Chronicles 21. David lifted up his eyes, saw the angel of the Lord standing between heaven and earth with a drawn sword in his hand, stretched out over Jerusalem. David and the elders, clothed in sackcloth, fell down, and David said to God, "Was it not I who gave the order to count the people? I am the one who has sinned and acted wickedly. But these sheep, what have they done? O Lord my God, please let your hand fall upon me and my father's house. Do not let this plague remain on your people." David, then the angel of the Lord ordered Gad to tell David to go up and build an altar to the Lord on the threshing floor of Ornan the Jebusite. What? What is a Jebusite? I might have a hunch. Really, they don't talk about them that much. Some Canaanite tribe that inhabited Jerusalem before the conquest initiated by Joshua, completed by David, fixed it up after that because he was so happy that, hey, you guys came through and helped me. This is a good place. But so just one of those people that, there you go. He was a Jebusite. He did it. I also have this. I was going to look at this book and see if I could get anything out of it. Fantasy novel, weird kind of picture, weird kind of guy. Anybody heard of this? Know anything about it? He's related to, of course, James Fenimore Cooper. It was compared to The Wizard of Oz. I guess this was one of the most popular books, and he was one of the most popular writers for a while. This guy. Albany, New York, born in a really small town, a town inside a town, Cooperstown. Cooperstown. You've heard it's got the baseball Hall of Fame. He grew up there, educated here, Taft College, Yale. You probably heard of that one. Trinity College, Cambridge. You've seen that star fort in your mind. Uh, Fenimore Cooper. He wrote that book. He's related to James Fenimore Cooper. Now, I think they list him. He also was, spent the last years of his life there, wrote the books, member of the Linonian. That's the Yale College, probably a predecessor to the Skull and Bones. That's only my opinion, and I'm just spitting it out there. I have no idea. Leather Stocking Tales, Last of the Mohicans, that was pretty famous. Do they mention that he was born in a small town inside of Cooperstown? Again, it's the same people. James Fenimore Cooper, the Pathfinder, the Wasp. Wow. Now, doesn't this have the town inside the town? Sometimes I want to prove to you, it does have a council rock. Here's the town of Coopertown. Well, might as well see them all. Montgomery County. Pretty small town. You wonder how it got picked to be the baseball Hall of Fame thing. Man, they run that thing. A lot of Clarks. My aunt married a Clark, one of them. He was a painter, Arthur Clark. I'm going to slide this down to the bottom. Don't get dizzy. Settlements in New York. No. Well, they don't see it, but there's a small town. I might have it pulled up, but I'm going to keep rolling here. What do we got here? Oh, I didn't want to buy the book. Another computer thing. Statue of Liberty. It's impossible frame. Only 56 subscribers. Sometimes, what's it like when computers do what you used to do and they do it in minutes?
Because numbers are the most merciless enemy of official history. We are told that the Statue of Liberty was a gift from the French people to the United States of America. It sounds noble, but let's look at the economic context of that time. France had just suffered a humiliating defeat in the Franco-Prussian War of 1870 to 1871. The country was devastated. Its economy lay in ruins. Paris had endured a bloody commune, and a gigantic indemnity, which had to be paid to Germany, hung around the state's neck. And at this moment of total national crisis and destitution, the French suddenly find colossal funds to cast hundreds of tons of copper and steel, pay for the labor of hundreds of highly skilled engineers and workers, rent ships, and send a giant monument across the ocean? This is economic absurdity. No penny-by-penny public collections, which tour guides love to talk about, could have covered expenses of such a scale. We are talking about millions of francs in the currency of the time. It's like a country experiencing default and civil war today, suddenly deciding to build and gift a space station to a neighboring continent. Logic suggests that there was no construction from scratch. There was only an operation to legalize an already existing object, which indeed required money. No truck-mounted concrete mixers, no automated concrete plants with computer-controlled mixes. Concrete was mixed almost by hand or with primitive steam engines. To pour such a volume of monolith without cold joints, which would inevitably lead to the destruction of the structure under the statue's weight, requires a continuous supply of mix 24 hours a day for many months. Where was the logistics for supplying sand, gravel, and cement? In New York Harbor? On an island? Where everything had to be delivered by barges? This is a logistical nightmare that even today would be an incredibly complex task. And back then?
They just keep proving it, right? Here, look at this.
Let's talk about what this colossus holds in its hand. The torch. We are officially told that the Statue of Liberty was the world's first electrified lighthouse. Ponder that phrase. 1886. The age of electricity is just beginning. Thomas Edison had just launched his first power station on Pearl Street, which barely served a few blocks of lower Manhattan, constantly breaking down and overheating. And suddenly, in the middle of the water, on a remote island, a powerful electric beam lights up, visible for tens of kilometers. Official technical documentation of that time is a collection of fairy tales for the naive. We are told that power was supplied via an underwater.
That's the computer calling you naive.
Historians carefully avoid. The spiral staircase inside. A double helix. Have you ever tried to climb it? It's a narrow, uncomfortable, claustrophobic space. We are told it was made for tourists. But why design a tourist attraction so that two people can barely pass each other? The answer is simple. It's not a staircase for people. A double helix is a shape perfectly suited for transmitting wave oscillations. In engineering, it's called a waveguide. The steps
The steps were a waveguide, according to the computer. Stop loading.
Engineering calculations of sewage capacity, water supply systems, and street layouts showed that the city was designed and built with a reserve for 5 to 7 million inhabitants. What insane investor in the 19th century would pour billions into infrastructure for a population that doesn't yet exist? Who builds collectors several meters in diameter for a city with a majority supposedly lives in wooden shacks? The answer is terrifying. This city was not built by them. Those whom we call first settlers and builders arrived to find everything ready.
But what do they always leave out the Bible? It's always such a mystery. The mystery is how can they leave out the Bible, the Bible?
Well, we forged it by hand, and the concrete mixed it with shovels. The bolder the lie, the easier it is believed. The Statue of Liberty became a symbol of the new power's legitimization over the old world. It was as if it said, "We are the masters here. We built this." Although in reality, they just painted the facade of someone else's palace. Pay attention to old photos of the statue's unveiling. The crowd.
So we're into the bases of the bridges, the bases of the monuments, a little bit of the eyeball with Casey from Enter the Stars.
You know that verse? Jesus says, I am. The Greek word looks like the word for the eye in your head. Just one of these E's is turned 90 degrees. In other words, the word I, like you, is the word I, like your head, in your head. Just crazy to me. Let's keep watching here.
Blue bloods don't have this blind spot because their nerve fibers enter behind the rods and cones, whereas ours enter in front.
When we look at the brain, that's where God sits. But only after you cross through the cross, which is Jesus, the optic nerves, where the pineal gland is.
There are a lot of things to be found in the eyeball. I'm just not that. What do we got here? Casey's fluctuates too much here. What is this? Did I think this? Oh, this was somebody who did that one video. Which
The Giza pyramids, which are aligned to Orion's belt, Osiris belt, are not the only three pyramid alignment like it one the Earth. You have the same three pyramids in Teotihuacan that also align to Orion's belt. Comparison of modern-day tech with the helicopter hieroglyphs from the Temple of Seti at Abydos, and it shows you a helicopter, tank or submarine, blimp or cargo plane, and an airplane. 1904 newspaper article about radium as the elixir of life. See figure 331. Old horse made young again by giving dose of it. Additionally, the Grand Canyon, Grand Quivira Pass has two giant furrow heads on its Grand Passage. One of the heads looks male, while the other looks female, and an Egyptian sphinx. See figures 354 and 355. No place in the world has more pyramids than the Yucatan Peninsula. The Mayans were the greatest pyramid builders in the world, and there are literally thousands of Mayan step pyramids found throughout the Yucatan in Central America. Once again, the pyramid is a symbol of Atlantis, so the sheer number of pyramids in the Yucatan speaks for itself. The oracle map of actual cities in North America with Egyptian names. I label the Mississippi River as the Nile River. These cities are all built along the Nile River and her tributaries, which was the custom of the Egyptians. Available at www.americaistheoldworld.com.
How about that? Here's that website. I think it's a slow loader. We got here Olmec headdress. See several tassels. Yeah, there's 6 of them there, right? America's Atlantis. This website is called, and it is putting right out there. Whoa, it's so big. America is the true old world is a good start. Is it enough? These people, I know that they have their own Bible thing. Or what do we got going here? Extinction of the original Negroes during the time of the Spanish conquest and the memories of them in the most ancient traditions induce us to believe that the Negroes were the first inhabitants of Mexico. Nicolás León, Historia General of Mexico. This must be a Negro-centric type of a situation going on there. Young, noble Ethiopian. Well, that's not Mexico. What is this one here? California island maps. Here's that one. Yeah, this one says Atlantis. And it's like the Colorado River has a lake or something. No, that's not the Great Salt Lake. These are the Rocky Mountains right here. This is the Rio Grande. I live right in here. So I did have a friend say, and it says on November 26th, several highways in Mexico were reportedly closed due to ongoing protests. It was hard to find this in the news. They kept wanting to go back to last year, but I had a friend that flew into Chihuahua, and it's a good thing he had to stay in Chihuahua because you could not get out of town. Something was going on. There's things going on around the world. This tractor shut it down, man. Did you know that Mexico had, that's, what is that? These toll roads, 6-lane highways. It's like there are other nations that are real nations, but yeah, they have mafias and cartels like we do. What did I look up here? We were really had to dig for it, man. Let's see. Had to put in the right date. Kept looking. Here we go. So here's that. What is this called? Exploring Great Britain. So that led me to the Devil's Arrow. This is Exploring Great Britain. I'm going to close the search. Pretty good picture right there. First bridge, it says, was built in the Stormin Norman times. 1700s roll around, and then in the 1900s, they got to fix it back up. It was at 25 million bricks? No, but interesting all the same. Says the devil agreed to build a bridge in return for the soul of the first living thing to cross. Uh-oh, a dog. Only a dog, they say. Well, there's one. There's two. How old is that picture? We got to blog them to find out about it. Photo above was taken in the 1890s. Could you be more vague? Another, what do we got going here? This is your boy. He's married to a girl, like Michelle Obama. That's not really a girl. He's married to one like that. But it's even more weird because he's like 20 years younger. But he loves to play the ping pong. They take him serious around the world. They have to know. Have they ever seen his wife? And of course, Candace Owens is doing it, but she's setting him up because they're setting her up. It's something to talk about that's, well, she's going to lead it to the Bible according to Mary and Roman Catholic, Noahide laws, charismatic, Roman Catholics, charismatic, evangelicals, fake. It's all fake. It's not narrow road at all. Sounds like he's in love with the guy. He's already he's already got a. Hey, no fighting over him. He's already got a guy. The Longfellow Bridge. That's one of those ones that they talked about the foundations of how, yeah, and they just threw some iron on there, but they always use the same foundations because, well, they're covering this stuff up, you know. Thanks Wikipedia for not providing a bigger picture. We know it's hard for you, right? Same thing we got going there, 1906. Sometime between those 6 years, streetcar tracks haven't been laid yet. Well, there it is. Still got some wrought iron fenced off sidewalk. Paint, scrape that paint. That rust doesn't look like it's eating it up. It's just the paint. They're fixing it up. Emergency repairs. That's just, look at these foundations. It's the world is a lie. We didn't need those computers to tell us. We got the Longfellow Bridge, not 25 million. Here's some old bridges. All the foundations are, old. Whenever you find these bridges of Massachusetts, no matter the size, it's pretty much going to be The old foundations. Look, there's a Church Street. I wonder what this 9 out of 9 rating means. We don't get to see the foundation. That's what it means. Look in here, get on a wait list, map of Boston. I wanted to look at it. You loading it or not? Huh. Well, it must not be that important. Well, Boston better have something. That kind of looks like it. Don't do it. There it is. All of these things on the coast. Look at this. Honestly, I was hoping it'd be a little bigger. But it's fake, fake, fake. Get rid of that too. Whatever you got now. This bridge is the one. In Philadelphia, Fairmont Bridge, 340 feet. Built on the old foundations. What's going on here? That's a lock? Cover it with wood, call it this, that, or the other thing. You know, you have your history, they have their history. If there is anything like a equal and opposite reaction, the righteousness of the very narrow road has to really outweigh all of the evil of the other people. The wide road, the backstabbers, we're going to have to be different. We're going to have to run away. We can't fight these people. We have to wake up and realize you don't go fight these people. That's how you end up dead. How do you give a glass of cold water to a child if you're dead? Who's left to give him water? If it's not somebody who's striving to surpass the golden rule, enter into the royal law, it's good to give children water when they're thirsty. That's not poison. So here's that town inside of Cooperstown. After all of that wasted, thank you so much for your patience. This is a village with several waterfalls in Columbia County. Still has the same population of this little village as the rest of Cooperstown, right? The village is at the center of the town of Kinderhook. So not really Cooperstown. That was the confusion. Kinderhook, Half Moon, Mohican, Swede, Studervant. This was the James Fenimore Cooper thing, right? Wasn't he near Washington Irving? Yeah, he was friends with James Fenimore Cooper. Martin Van Buren's retirement home was in Lindenwold, is in the town of Kinderhook. Columbia County Research. Kinderhook means child hook. Kinder in German. Pretty white town. Huh. Washington Irving. Why do you need a town inside a town? And it's been in a lot of films, starting recently, really, and going back to 1923, but then a long time until the overrated Daniel Day-Lewis starred in The Age of Innocence. Looks like some sort of vampire movie or something. Cake Eaters, Hero, Hero. These are a bunch of people with a lot of questions surrounding them. See what else we got. So this is the town. Not many pictures. New Nederland. They were Dutch. Means Little Falls. 9 cotton mills in that small town in the early 1800s, only after being established in 1832. The first Santa Claus Club. You want to be that town? The first Santa Claus Club. That's a low degree of what they consider a high honor right there. Personally, Santa's been traveling through the town. How new is everything? They didn't even have a Santa Claus Club until 1946. Hudson Valley. Just get yourself a good creek, open up some mills, start making something. Everybody had to go through it. What's this other one here? Oh, this is where that guy went to school. I had it already pulled up too. So Schauberg, that was the guy who won the contest. He also designed this thing, this bridge of, This is in Dresden. The oldest and biggest paddle steamer in the world. Somehow that guy he had something to do with it. Castles, vineyards, villas. I really wish I knew how I got there. Or did he do this too? Here's the 26 million brick thing. Look how sturdy it still looks. Kind of a interesting foundation. Really not. That's the best picture you got. I don't know what this 50,000 bricks thing is, but it's big. A museum in the nearby Starford thing opened in 1883, dedicated a room to this viaduct, scale models. In 1930, a top layer of reinforced concrete with a parapet allowed the railway track to become wider. It survived the World War II. The Wehrmacht intended to blow up the bridge, but it didn't because it couldn't. It's not big enough. It has a reputation of a place to jump, I guess. Weird, man. We saw that other one talking about it. 26 million is also the name of a much smaller terminus opened. That's early. It's at Schubert. Subsequently, he designed the bridge himself. He was the chairman of the jury thing. He must have, there's prize money. He started working a little bit harder. He was the chairman of the jury. He subsequently designed the bridge. So did he get the money? It's all a lie. Granite for special things. How did they do the roads?
Plains and inner west, part of a vague Great Tartary in some European atlases. Mainstream historians see only cartographic shorthand. Alternative researchers see an erased network, which they call Tartarian infrastructure hidden beneath later construction. The chapter ends on a simple tension. If the depot was merely an appendage to a newborn town, why do its buried systems look like the anchor, not the appendage? In a second visit to the Cheyenne archive, I request renovation documents. A thin folder, dated 1931, describes infilling of obsolete
So watch how the computers fill in the names and the dates. Now, when they start here, they're talking about Cheyenne, Wyoming, and he's acting like when I did this, when I did that, when I went to the record in Cheyenne, and it shows a girl in New England, in Maine.
the appendage. In a second visit to the Cheyenne archive, I request renovation documents. A thin folder, dated 1931, describes infilling of obsolete vault opening on the north wall and removal of redundant piping presumed original to construction. The contractor's sketch marks a bricked-up arch at the exact position I had traced on the exterior. An unlabeled photograph from the 1920s shows a work crew standing in front of the depot. Behind them, the north wall still bears the outline of a large arched opening, now closed in darker brick. At ground level, faint traces of an iron frame are visible, as if a hatch or lift platform once existed there. The document's language is telling. It records redundant piping, original to construction, yet no mechanical equipment is ever described in the initial 1887 plans. If hydraulic lifts were added decades later, why did the renovation report treat the Undercroft equipment as original? I compare the arch proportions to those under St. Pancras Station in London, where the Midland Railway built a forest of brick vaults and installed hydraulic lifts to lower beer wagons into an undercroft.
I wonder if the Hebrews were as good as making bricks as the Egyptians thought they were.
Victorian engineering journals discuss water-powered lifts and hoists becoming common in industrial settings by the late 19th century, in line with broader adoption of hydraulic elevators and stage lifts. Mainstream history thus has
What does the computer think of when it's going to go like mainstream history and it wants to pop up? What do we got going on here in the background there? Is that who is that? It's just or is it? It's just for the weird.
known to the average passenger. The official Grand Central History details its construction, designers, and later alterations, but the casual visitor has no sense of the station's depth. Alternative Tartarian narratives often point to such hidden levels.
I want people to be ready because I feel the world is getting ready for something major. I was at this other website watching somebody try to destroy the short season theology, and they're saying the world, the gospel's never been preached, you know, and I was trying to say, well, what about this verse, But you must continue to believe this truth and stand firmly in it. Don't drift away from the assurance you received when you heard the good news. The good news has been preached all over the world. And I, Paul, have been appointed as God's servant to proclaim it. Their voice has gone out into all the earth. Their words to the end of the world. It says the gospel has been preached, proclaimed in all creation under heaven. Preached to every creature. 2 Samuel. I wanted to look that up. Here I was looking it up. This war between the house of Saul and the house of David was protracted. David grew stronger and stronger, and the house of Saul grew weaker and weaker. This, Adonijah, Hebron, Abner joins David. I read you this part here. Abner is kind of a interesting thing. He's been in the Bible in and out. He's the one who helped Israel's royal family, not the house of Judah. Israel. He helped them set up their house. Now, during the war between the house of Saul and the house of David, Abner had continued to strengthen his position in the house of Saul. Now, Saul had a concubine named Rizpah, the daughter of Aiah. And so Ishbosheth questioned Abner, "Why did you sleep with my father's concubine?" Abner was righteously furious over Ishbosheth's accusation. "Am I the head of a dog that belongs to Judah? All this time I have been loyal to the house of your father Saul, to his brother, and to his friends. I have not delivered you into the hand of David, but now you accuse me of wrongdoing with this woman? May God punish," he's speaking third person. That's how some of those famous people do. "And ever so severely, if I," that Abner, "do not do for David what the Lord has sworn to him, to transfer the kingdom from the house of Saul to establish the throne of David over Israel from Dan to Beersheba." You are talking about a major change of gears here. This is how the Bible works. You have to look for these things. This is Abner. He's part of the Bible changing sides. Things can happen. What's going to happen before this next midterm election? He's going to do it. And he had the power to do it. He wasn't kidding it. Now I'm going to do it. Not the kingdom of Israel. For the fear of Abner, Ishbosheth did not dare say another word to him because he knew they're dealing with Abner, the guy who, I'm sure is propping up the king as friends. Abner sends message on his behalf to say to David, "To whom does the land belong? Make your covenant with me, Abner, and surely my hand will be with you to bring all Israel over to you." David probably does, little suspicious, but he says, "Good, I will make this covenant with you. But there is one thing I require. Do not appear before me unless you bring Saul's daughter, Michal, when you come to see me." David sent messages to say to Ishbosheth, son of Saul, "Give me back my wife." He couldn't say it till he had Saul. Abner, I mean, "whom I betrothed to myself for hundred, did I say 100 Philistine foreskins?" It's a violent book. Ishbosheth decided, man, I have really stepped in it. He takes the wife from her husband. Her husband goes back following her crying, "Give me back my wife." Then Abner said to him, "Go back." So he had to go home. He's taking his wife to see David. He's openly breaking covenant. Ishbosheth freaking out. The Lord, take action. Verse 18, "Because the Lord has said to David, through my servant David, I will save my people Israel from the hands of the Philistines and of all their enemies." Abner spoke also to the Benjamites. Then he went to Hebron to tell David all that seemed good to Israel and the whole house of Benjamin. Then Abner said to David, verse 21 starts, it continues, "Let me go at once. I will gather all Israel to my Lord the king, that they may make a covenant with you, and that you may rule over all that your heart's desires." Now Joab murders him. Joab gets jealous of Abner. Joab was in charge of David's army. Things are getting crazy, man. just as David's soldiers and Joab returned from a raid, bringing with them a great plunder. But Abner was not with David in Hebron because David had sent him on his way in peace. When Joab and all his troops arrived, he was informed Abner, son of Ner, came to see the king, who sent him away in peace. Sent him on his way in peace. What? So Joab went to the king and said, "What have you done? Look, Abner came to you. Why did you dismiss him? Now he's getting away. Surely you realize that Abner, the son of Ner, came to deceive you and to track your movements and all that you're doing." He didn't know Abner's mad because he got accused falsely of sleeping with the king's wife. This is open rebellion, Joab. You've been off fighting. You need to get up to speed. He talks to the king. The king says, huh? Verse 26, as soon as Joab had left King David, he sent messages after Abner, who brought him back to the well of Sirah, but David was unaware of it. When Abner returned after Hebron, Joab pulled him aside into the gateway as if to speak to him privately, and there Joab stabbed him in the stomach. So Abner died on account of the blood of Joab's brother Asahel. Now, Abner warned this guy, "You don't want to mess with me, dude. You're not your brother. I don't want to kill you. I don't want your brother pissed." He warned him and he warned him and he warned him. But this guy kept saying, "No, man, we're going to fight." So Abner just dispatched with him this was no contest. When Abner returned, Joab pulled him aside, tried to avenge his blood. David loses a good general. He's had enough of Joab. It is crazy times, things you got to know about. I also want to read, we're going to skip ahead. 2 Sam chapter 4, verse 7. They had entered the house while Ishbosheth was lying on his bed, and having stabbed and killed him, they beheaded him, took his head, and traveled all night by the way of Arabah. They brought the head of Ishbosheth to David at Hebron and said to the king, "Here is the head of Ishbosheth, the son of Saul, your enemy, who sought your life. Today the Lord has granted vengeance to my lord, the king, against Saul and his offspring." That's not what David doesn't want them to do. David's not going like, "You don't go somewhere and kill this." He's the one. David put those guys to death. You don't do it wrong and just take it into your hands and start killing people. The Lord does it. Chapter 5, verse 23. So David inquired of the Lord, who answered, "Do not march straight up, but circle around behind them and attack them in front of the balsam trees. Move quickly, because this will mean that the Lord has gone out before you to strike the camp of the Philistines." There was a time when God led them in war. Now he's going to be leading them in peace. Now, I read this one. He did what was right. So Asa withdrew all the silver and gold that remained in the treasuries of the house of the Lord. And he said, when you can't fight people, you don't. When you need help, you ask and you receive it. You don't end up telling people, convincing them, "Hey, we got a new way of reading the Bible, and it's this and it's that. And I'm still going to need 30-40% of your children to go die because we're drawing a line in the sand." No, the original ghost dance with that false Ute type understanding was, yeah, now we can do peyote and we can just attack them. That is not the way it works. When the whole golden age passed, mud flood theology came to me through multiple peyote visions with the Ute Indians. I was telling them, no, you're wrong. It's peaceful. We run away and hide. Why is that so hard to get into people's head? We don't want to kill people. We don't want to watch them die. We don't want to watch them beg for mercy. We don't want to pick out 30, 40% of our children and say, go fight for us. There'll be nobody left to give the children drinks of water. The old people run out of gas so easy. I'm telling you, man, I'm getting old myself. I'm almost 70. These guys, man, they took care. Elijah making fun of these guys. He went and killed 400 of them. You know, that was then. God said that we're going to have this generation that beats its swords into plowshares. Who's with me? I can't do it alone. This Bible verse says, then Elijah came near to all the people. How much longer will you waver? Hobbling on two opinions. RJ, if he's listening or when he listens later, he can't stand this. This is fence sitting to him and me. I sound like a little baby when I say, and me too. We don't like fence sitters. You can't, there's no good thing about it. Being in the middle of the road is, how long will you falter between two opinions? If the Lord is God, follow him. Anything else but the Lord Jesus Christ Messiah, you may as well be following. But why did I pull up the next verse? I could have just clicked it. And here it goes, like, I'm the only prophet of the Lord that's left. It turns out he was not. But sometimes it seems like it. What is the difference? Like in Romans, I'm going to read this starting in chapter 2 here. God did not reject his people whom he foreknew. Do you not know that the scripture says about Elijah how he appealed to God against Israel? Lord, they have killed your prophets, torn down your altars, and I am the only one left, and they're seeking to kill me. And what was the divine reply? I have reserved for myself 7,000 men who have not bowed the knee to Baal, but they weren't called prophets. I think there's another place where there were 2,000 prophets, but there were 7,000 who haven't bowed the knee. I don't know if there were any prophets left, or if there were some to come down more, but there were reserved by God, chosen, predestined, called, elected, reserved for himself, by himself. Cry aloud, for he is an Elohim. Either he's meditating, or he's busy, or he's on a journey. Perhaps he's sleeping and you got to wake him up. So that's some pretty serious mocking. Another computer said this.
Next, the newspaper accounts describe the confusion of the engineers. They could not understand why anyone would build a bridge with multiple complete levels of arches. It made no structural sense according to their understanding. Why build 3 levels when one would suffice? Why waste the materials and labor? But what if those levels were not built at the same time? What if each level represents a different era, buried in sequence by successive catastrophe? Or what if all 3 levels were originally exposed, serving different functions in a more complex urban system?
Or what if the mud flood was Armageddon? We got the Palace of Versailles. There's no potty. It's the, that Baroque style. Don't say it, Paco. If it's not Baroque, don't fix it. I didn't mean to. No, I did. I like to say that if it's not Baroque, don't fix it. There's no potties. There's over 600 buildings. There's 2 creations. This whole thing, that there were Elohim, there were other people living together. These, Baroque architecture. They don't have potties. They're the ones that don't have potties. But they were built and lived along people that needed potties. They worshipped them. And then they died like men. Something weird's going on, man. Anyway, so I'm doing this one art project, and my friend brought it over and said, you know what? Because it's coming across really good. And he wanted me to see this other one. Well, there's one that's a little bit longer, the 21-second one. Well, I want to get bigger. Now, really, full screen. Come on, really? Is it because it's a short? That might be it. Go. I like that, where you kind of like, because I'm doing a 3D mask. But I did mine a mural. Hey, there's a 3D cardboard face. Mine's out of labradorite.
So in this video, I'm going to show
It's
you how
harder.
to make a cardboard face.
It's harder.
You're going to need cardboard boxes, glue gun, newspaper, that, and then fit them into the eye socket so you have that eyeball the other side as well.
Wait, that's not a 3D though.
Carefully gluing that back on.
Where's the inside out optical illusion one that I'm making? Huh. Now this is a 3D illusion. That's the one they were showing. You see, you want to look at it, flip it around and show me. See, now it's inside out. And when you hold it at the right angle, it's a face. So, but I cut mine out. Did I show any pictures of those recently? Are you seeing that? One more video. It's the mafia. They did it.
Even more surprising was the appearance of another key player at Santos and Lauren Hall's jail cell in Cuba during this same period, and that being a gangster by the name of Ruby. According to Jim Hoogan in his classic book Spooks, citing a CIA report from the time during his imprisonment, Trafficante was, quote, frequently visited by an American gangster named Ruby, end quote. Given Jack Ruby's closeness to Louis McQuilly, as we're going to see, an employee and operator for Santos Trafficante, we can pretty convincingly assume that it was in fact Jack Ruby that was visiting the Tampa hood in the Cuban.
It goes back to who made the money during Prohibition. It was all a setup to get us where we are now.
Lehman. And yes, that's Lehman as in Lehman Brothers Bank, the son of Meyer Lehman, one of the three Lehman brothers. And interestingly, Thomas Dewey would then release Luciano a decade later, when he was serving as governor of New York, apparently in return for Luciano's alleged wartime support in both securing the docks in New York City and providing off-the-books advice on the upcoming invasion of Sicily under the secret Office of Naval Intelligence operation known as Operation Underworld, which I covered all the way back in episode 3 of the